Hello guys, welcome back to the tutorial. In the last session, we discussed how an ESB platform can be helpful in integrating multiple partners and systems for an enterprise. And we also discussed that one of the main functionality of the ESB is orchestration. So, web methods as an ESB provide flexibility to orchestrate using something called services. Now, before we proceed further, I would like to discuss something about services. We wanted to know what is a service. Service is a evolved methodology or evolved concept of something or piece of code which do something. So I will start from a very old convention, which is procedural language. So let's look some example. For example, let's say what is a procedure? What is a procedure? Now, if you are from a C background or some other background, some other procedural language program background like Visual Basic, you will understand that in computer programming language, procedure is a set of instructions that tells computer how to run a program. Now, it is a very abstract concept. This means that it's a piece of code which do something, okay, and it can be reused. You can use it again and again to do the same thing again and again. But what's the difference? What is it? A procedure in a procedural language specifies just this, nothing else. There is nothing else in it. Now, when you go into the Java or C Sharp or .NET object-oriented paradigm, basically in the object-oriented paradigm, you went into a concept called methods. Now, procedure, the same thing which was procedure has become method. Why? Because when you attach a procedure to an object, it becomes method. Reason is, for example, let's conceptualize this. Animal is a class. Now, animal has subclass, let's say, or two subclasses, basically, say cat and dog. And both of the objects has a method called speaks. Dog also say speaks, right? But in this one, in this procedure, or I would say again, it's method. If you execute, it will say meow. In dog, it will say bark. Correct? So now you understand how procedure became method. When see in an object-oriented paradigm, an object has properties and methods. It can have some data in it. It can have things way to manipulate things of data in it or someone else data. That's how procedure become method. In procedural language, procedure was a single entity. It was always the same. It was always behave the same. In object paradigm, now now you understand how the elevation of the role has become. Now in the services, the elevation is a bit different. Service is also a procedure. Service is also a method, but in a different aspect. A service, first of all, is provided. It is not inherited to you. Means it could be from you or it could be from someone else. And for that, by definition, it has a contract. When we say contract, it's basically means input and output. Means it's input and output. Now third is it's a black box. Means you don't care how it is implemented. And there are few more aspects in it. Fourth is it's available and it is discoverable. We'll talk about it just now. Okay, and we'll talk about it in the by giving it an analogy. Now, a very good analogy that can be given is A restaurant. When you go to a restaurant, when you go to a restaurant right away, how do you know that restaurant will be serving you? You know, no, you don't know it because restaurant is there. You just go there, you expect the restaurant will serve you. That is the concept of availability. That means a service is available. If you consider this against a method or in a procedure, you cannot expect that method to be up and running or procedure to be up and running all the time because if they don't serve you, right? So a service has a property that it is available. A service has a property that it is discoverable. That means when you go and sit there, you will see a menu. Okay, what you wanted to eat, you wanted to eat dish number one, dish number two, dish number three, and so on. So when you say that service is discoverable, means when you wanted to go and get a service, you need to know which service are provided to you. Then only it is available, right? Then suppose you placed an order, correct? Once you placed an order, you specify that you want your dish to be sweet or salty or highly spices or something basically with your specification, or you just say that give me that one. That is called contract. That contract says that you will get an input and it will you will expect an output as a dish. Now contract do not specify something which is also a very big part of the service is also called SLA, service level agreement. Once you place an order of a dish in a restaurant, you can expect this to be completed maybe in 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, maybe max 30 minutes. You can expect if you order some special dish and chef has to take some time to cook it. Okay, but it should not take 2 days to bring you the dish, right? You will not be sitting there for 2 days, or maybe it's the same whole day itself. So there is an SLA. This is called service level agreement. So a service level agreement says that this service should be completed within this time. All right. And it is provided means that hotel is there and someone is providing you. Now the most important part is black box. Once you given the order, once the waiter went into the kitchen to take by taking your order, you don't know what is there in the kitchen. That restaurant owner might go to some other hotel inside from the kitchen to get your order prepared. You don't care as long as you are delivered the output or your service. You are happy. So remember these points when you're talking about service because these are the main concept of the service. All right. So in web methods, when we develop something, this piece of codes, everything, everything acts as a service. So an invocable or a usable part, for example, I will show you something. For example, in WM public, web method by default gives you a package called WM public. Okay, and it contains a lot of services already. For example, this flow. So this all anything which you develop, anything which you receive works as a service. So everything you see here, you will call it as a service. It could be Java service, it could be .NET service, it could be any other service, and that all definitions applies the same. So the first thing is it is discoverable. So you discover this from this navigator. This is called package navigator, right? For example, if you wanted to see this service, you can just see Control C. I'm doing Control C currently, or you can also do right click on it. You can copy on it, and then you can go ahead and find it, or you can do Control F. You can paste it and you can search it. You will be able to search the service here like this, right? You are and you open it, fine. Now this service, for example, debug log has an input, but there's no output. So its contract say that you will just pass some input and you will expect it to do something, correct? You don't care how it is doing it, right? So this is what a service means. Now to start with the web method developer in this session, what we will be doing, we will be creating something called a flow service, and we will along that line we will discuss about multiple properties, multiple aspects of the service provided by it. Now every service in web method stays in something called a package. correct? So how you can create a package? You can just click on the server connection, right click, new, and click on the package. This is not something like a Java package. This is a package which is just a bundling space. It bundles all of your code inside a single deployable container. Okay, so let's say my let's say training first. I call first. Now when you once you call it training first, it will create a package called training first. It contains nothing. See, there is no trios of name. Now let's do something. Just copy this package and paste it on our notepad. It copied, right? Now, as a best practice, as a good practice, in a package, you can create any number of folders, but you should only create as a best practice one folder naming same as package. And I will explain why. Okay. So as a best practice, create only one folder in one package naming only the same name. Now I'll tell you why, because just copy this folder name and paste it here. And what do you expect that will be pasted? Training first. Where is the package name here? Nothing, right? So that's where I am going to explain the discoverability. You see this service name here in the search box. This service name is identified like this: pub, flow, set response. You can discover this service by right click on it, show in package navigator. You will see the service here. This service is under a pub folder, then flow service, then the service name. So a service name, if you copy the service name in web method, is identified by its folder locations, separated by its name by using a colon. If you can see like this, so this is the colon and this is the service name, this is the folder name, but it does not contain the package name. So for the development purposes, if you wanted to identify that your code is contains which is under which package, you need to understand that which top level folder it is in. So to understand this, the top level folder always make the top level folder name as the same as the package. In this way, you will be able to understand which service you are in. So let's create another folder called services, and let's create another one new flow service, your first flow service called hello world. All right, we just created a service, right? Now again, we will follow the same convention that this is a service. It should have everything which complies to our definition which we just discussed about. That it is provided. Obviously, web methods providing it. It should have a contract, input and output. So we will first define our input and output. So I'll say my first input, or I will say input one. Okay, I don't want any output here. This is my contract. I just say this is my contract. All right. Now I wanted to do something in it. So this is where the flow service is easy. Flow service is an inbuilt or is a programming or a orchestration mechanism provided by software AG. You can consider is another language which is a very easy language. The whole purpose of this language is to create orchestration. Means you can orchestrate a complex service or a composite service by using other services. So when I say users other services means, let's try this pub flow debug service. I will just drag and drop this here and it is invoked. What it will do is that as a first step, this flow service is like a procedural service. As a first step, it will invoke this service. Now service works over input and output, and we call these input and output as pipeline. We will talk about this pipeline in detail in further sections. But in this first service, what we'll try to do, I will just go ahead and map this input to this message and save it. And remember in our uh, logs where we used to check that if the service has started, we can just do a tail here It's saying that we just created a service here. And now we can right click on the service, run as flow service. Input one is a string. We can just pass hello world and say okay. And it will, what it will do actually, it will create or put this hello world into the server log. So basically this service is a debugging service. It can be used to log any string into that server log with the functional level. We will talk about this in detail in the subsequent sections when we were talking about the public services. But this is your first hello world service. You just created a service which has an input and which is logging into a database by composing using a simple orchestration by invoking another service. So now you have a first service introduction. Try to create your own service. Try to create your some play around with the service again. We will discuss about this in the next video. Thank you for joining. Have a nice day.